Well, I guess that is the start of episode 2. Welcome to Animated, my little weekend show I insist on doing all the time. Well, I have plenty of things to cover this week: trailers, news, other things, even a happenstance Ahsoka review that, I tried to get into the show and I couldn't. I ended up just like skipping through and getting a bunch of cliff notes. The thing just was not all that fun to watch. But that'll come later. I want to start some things off positively and go over some things that I'm actually like happy to see. And that's going to be a couple of random trailers I came across this week. So we have Berserk fan project done by Studio Eclipse and The Boy and the Heron, as well as maybe some other things that I felt like covering as far as trailers. There is news regarding some new tax laws in Japan that could, potentially cause a huge problem for mangaka. There is some indie sector drama to cover with, with the Rippaverse. There is Robin Hood, which kind of made some interesting things happen on the internet. And there's just a little bit of drama to go over. So, with that said, I think it's about time to get into the very first thing that came up on my radar this week: The Boy and the Heron. Well, it's not the very first thing, but it's what I want to start with. I want to start with all the fun stuff. So let's get into it. Oops. Hold on a second. This here is a trailer for a new Studio Ghibli movie, and Ghibli always does pretty well with their movies. I have never had a complaint about any of their movies. So when I found out this was coming out, to my displeasure that it's by a guy who disparages Lord of the Rings so much, but it's still a thing, and it still looked interesting, so I'm going to be going over it here. Should probably turn the volume way down for this. I mean, it looks very, very stereotypical, like Ghibli stuff. That's what it looks like so far, which means, good animation. It'll probably be a halfway decent story at the very least. Obligatory pause because copyright's a bitch. Never ever challenge the authority of a Japanese copyright lawyer. Oh well. So far, it looks good. Like, it looks really well animated. It looks. I don't know how I feel about the soundtrack so far that they're using for this. Hayato Miyazaki, yeah. I'm still kind of at a loss as to like what this is supposed to be about. Like this has told me nothing so far. Like, yeah, sure, the trailer looks amazing. Like all the animation looks great and all, but at what point are you going to tell me what this is about? Or is it just going to be a compilation of? Oh, it's just going to be a bunch of commentary at that point. If that's really all the trailer is, and I'm kind of disappointed because it says absolutely jack shit about what this movie is supposed to be about. But yeah, if you're unaware, Hayato Miyazaki returns for another movie run. Let me just get rid of this. Hayato Miyazaki returns for another movie run. And if you didn't know, Hayato Miyazaki is one of the more popular directors when it comes to anime movies, but he is a guy whose takes on fiction and stuff, and yeah, I don't particularly know if I agree with. And that's where you get into the sort of like separate the artist from the art kind of shit, where you can make the argument as to like, well, he's good at what he does, but I don't agree with his politics. And he has said some really, really stupid things about Lord of the Rings. I would have to dig the comments up again. I wasn't planning on covering it because they're ancient, but he basically described them as like stereotypical like thing blows up American kind of action movies is what he had to say about the Lord of the Ring movies. Like they don't care about civilian casualties and all that. They just want action and guns and blow stuff up, and kind of proving that he never really like watched the Lord of the Rings. He just kind of assumes everything is the same with American filmmaking. Which I get it. Marvel kind of does that. Marvel kind of gives that impression. But overall, as far as the trailer goes, all I can say is, well, it looks good. It looks really good. But I can't quite tell what the whole movie is going to be about. It doesn't really tell me much of anything. Like, it doesn't give me a plot. It's, yeah, it looks gorgeous, but it feels empty. Kind of my complaint about a couple of the Freerin trailers up until the third one. The third one really just popped off, and that anime is great. Deserves a lot of love. It deserves to be the best this year. I guess less going. We're going to go into some less potentially less disappointing stuff here now, and I am going to go right into Berserk fan project. Berserk the Black Swordsman. I've got an article here talking about it. Berserk is finally getting the anime it deserves from fans. A fan studio is taking a new crack at Guts and the Band of the Hawk in Berserk with the Black Swordsman. So Berserk has been making quite a few headlines recently with writer Koji Mori and the artist at Studio Gaga. As writer Koji Mori and artist at Studio Gaga have started a new arc in the pages of the manga, exploring Guts and company as they struggle with the loss of Elfheim and a new problem that has met them on the high seas. The Eastern Exile arc is aiming to explore the world at large, while the Berserk franchise has yet to announce if any new anime projects are on the way. One fan studio is taking matters into its own hand. And yes, I will make a quick comment on the fact that I am very excited to see Berserk manga return. I continue to say just about every stream I pull up that Berserk is hands down the best manga you could ever read. It's one of the greatest pieces of fiction ever written. And it is definitely something that if you're okay with dealing with a lot of dark content, you should definitely check it out. Fantasy World, great writing, Kentaro Miura, one of the greatest mangaka, if not the greatest mangaka ever to grace the public. So yes, Berserk Volume 42. Looking forward to getting my hands on that one. Now, as far as the animated sections of or animated adaptations of Berserk have gone, there have been ones that like have failed to fully adapt the story. There have been ones that are just really, really outdated, like old school Berserk. If you're really into it, watch old school Berserk. New Berserk, nuh-uh. Ain't good. Don't watch it. Bad adaptation. It should be considered a crime what they did to Berserk. That being said, we're going to move on with this article. The last time Berserk received an anime adaptation, it was in the form of Berserk Memorial Edition. The anime adaptation took material from the trilogy of films that retold the Golden Age arc, while adding some of the new scenes that had never made their way into the silver screen originally. While the series has received a number of animated projects, there is still quite a bit of story material from the Bleak manga series that has yet to be adapted that could give fans multiple seasons in the future. Studio Eclipse might be working on The Black Swordsman, but this isn't their first rodeo in the anime medium, as they previously created an alternate ending for the Scout Regiment in Attack on Titan: No Requiem. And here we have the actual trailer for their animated project, Black Swordsman. And I have not checked this out yet. So here we go. Jeez, that's loud. It's really, really freaking loud. That feels better. Okay. No chill. Okay. Straight up has no chill. I like it. That's how Berserk should be. I mean, it's a fan project and it looks leagues better than anything I have seen out of like the animated projects. This looks amazing. It looks incredible. Is there anything more to the article? In recent interviews, the new writer of the series, Koji Mori, discusses the difficulty of both himself and the artist at Studio Gaga to make the decision to continue Berserk following Kentaro Miura's passing. Luckily, the creative team was able to receive notes and testimony from Miura as to how the Band of the Hawk story will come to an end. Okay, so they know how this story is going to end. That gives me hope. Because one of the things I was really worried about with this, finding out about Miura's death, one of the things that had me worried was the fact that was whether or not he had the ending already on paper for people. And it seems like they now have Miura's planned ending and how things are supposed to go. It's just a matter of delivery now. So, God, that's got to be a tough role to fill. That has got to be a tough thing. That's got to be a tough thing to do. To take up one of the greatest pieces of manga writing ever and just there's a lot there to unpack, and I don't know, maybe that's something when that releases, I will definitely be covering that because that's cool. It's really cool, actually. Hats off to you, Random Fan Studio. Just killing it for no other reason than you can. But now is time to decide whether we're going to just continue on with some of the dumb stuff or we're going to get into some of the more interesting fiction news and stuff. And I think I would rather continue on talking about trailers since, we're just starting the show off. And we're going to discuss a little bit of Star Wars as a prelude to what we're going to do later. And here we have leaked. The Acolyte trailer declares this isn't about good or bad, it's about power and who uses it. Oh boy, is this going to be another one of those things about this is going to be unlike anything you've ever seen out of us. All right, well, we got bounding into comics here with this article. The leaked trailer of The Acolyte, which appears to be from Star Wars Celebration on April, features a line of dialogue that declares this isn't about good or bad. It's about power and who is allowed to use it. So many freaking ads. I need to do something about that, but hey. The trailer was recently uploaded to a Star Wars subreddit and can be seen below. This may contain spoilers. Removed by Reddit in response to copyright notice. All right, well. Oh, well. I tried. Just kidding. There's a whole lot more to this article. So as you can see above, it features a Jedi Master teaching a number of younglings about the Force and telling them, your eyes can deceive you, you must not trust them. The Force is powerful. It is power we must respect. The explanation is bizarre given how Yoda, who is still alive and seemingly a prominent figure in the Jedi Order at the time this show is supposed to take place, had a very different view of the Force as he related to Luke Skywalker in The Empire Strikes Back. The Force is my ally and all of that. Yeah, right here. If you recall, Yoda told Luke, for my ally is the Force, and a powerful ally it is. Life creates it, makes it grow. Its energy surrounds us and binds us. Luminous beings we are, not this crude matter. You must feel the Force around you, here, between you, me, the tree, the rock, everywhere. Yes, even between the land and the ship. Clearly, Yoda viewed the Force as an ally and seemingly something he put his complete trust in, which this Jedi Master appears to be instructing his students to avoid. Are we really surprised that Disney would go out of their way to shit on everything that was George Lucas Star Wars again? No, not at all surprised. And hello there. Nice of you to join me again. Hello there. I just pissed off two fan bases at once. So yeah, I mean, this is, oh boy, okay. So you're already making this all about, power and stuff. So why am I supposed to be interested or not in this? Because everything you've done has been about, oh, well, power this, power that. This is just another one of the modern adaptations that's all about, well, good isn't really good and evil isn't really evil, and I'll get on with it. As the trailer continues, some kind of assassin figure attacks what appears to be a female Jedi in a bar, similar to how Ezra Bridger did not use his lightsaber in the most recent episode of Ahsoka. This female Jedi does not use her lightsaber, but uses a number of martial arts techniques and the Force to fend off the female assassin. The trailer then features a montage scene of Jedi marching through a town. The Master is instructing the younglings, and the Jedi appears to be interacting with the Trade Federation officials. Following this brief montage, a character is shown climbing the face of what appears to be some kind of temple. There are then a number of scenes which appear to be inside the temple. One of them, a female force wielder, launches what appears to be a force attack on a man. However, the scene cuts off before we see the results of the attack. I don't think we need to. It's probably just going to be talked about Batman. I haven't seen any Batman news. So if there's something new going on with Batman, I would have to check that out. That's interesting to hear. I mean, the last time I covered Batman, it was talking about Batman 137, which was abysmally stupid. It was basically just, well, you can't punish people for committing crimes because then they'll go and commit worse crimes. Bish, like what? Anyway, this basically just goes on to describe a bunch of stupid stuff happening with the Acolyte. Next, we see another montage including a Jedi using the Force to open a door. Why? Why do you need the Force to open a door? A man peeking around the corner. 3 Jedi appear to confront someone. A woman walking. You know, there's a lot of mention of like female characters in here. It almost feels like, you know, that whole the Force is female thing. And I think I'll save all that ranting for when I talk about Ahsoka later. It then returns to the Jedi battle in the bar with the female Jedi as she uses the Force to stop the assassin's blade in its track. And the clip transitions to a scene of a woman, where a woman states, "This isn't about good or bad. This is about power and who's allowed to use it." Look. Look. This isn't about good or bad, except for that's pretty much what like the entirety of Star Wars has been about. It has been about bad people want to do bad things, and it's up to good people to put a stop to it. I just had this whole conversation with my friends last night at Culver's, talking about some of like the characters we hate. And Rose Tico says one of the dumbest lines in Star Wars: "We don't win a war by destroying what we hate. We win by saving what we love." That line is written by someone who like clearly thinks it's deep, but it just isn't. And same with this. It's not about good or bad, it's about power and who is allowed to use it. What is that supposed to mean? I know they're trying to like preach at like the message and all that about like systems of power and such, but people don't want to sit here and get a lecture about all your politics, about you using their favorite stories and properties to beat things down their throat. Continuing on. The clip then shows a number of scenes with a man walking around a snowy covered ravine, some kind of alien female wielding a spear like weapon, and an assassin walking in an open door down a street. It continues with a number of Jedi lighting up their concludes with a number of Jedi lighting up their sabers and standing at the ready. So assertion that the Empire, that the series will have a heavy emphasis on current. Oh, fuck me. Not like I was going to watch this anyway, but heavy emphasis on current day politics. Yeah. It's just going to be about everything's most sexist, isn't it? And yes, you can just open doors with your hand. More likely that the series will provide a heavy dose of intersectional feminist theory in the guise of Star Wars. Yeah, I know how it goes. Is that a man bun Wookiee? Is that a Wookiee with a man bun? Also, why does this person here look like their face got smashed in with a basketball? What I think is so interesting right now, Headland told Empire, when you're doing something completely original like we are, you want to question the status quo of the. You're literally just repeating everything that has been said as the status quo in Star Wars up to this point. You're not doing anything completely original. You're working with someone else's property. That's not completely original. What you're doing, what you think is completely original, is you've inserted yourself and your politics into Star Wars. That isn't completely original. This is why I stopped paying attention after Kenobi. Because it was clear it was no longer about Star Wars. I wanted to give them the benefit of the doubt. Book of Boba Fett sucked. Mando season 1 and 2 were okay. I kind of liked them because I've always liked the Mandalorians, but for crying out loud, I'm doing something original. Something completely original. You've never seen someone talk about a female Jedi before. It felt like we had an entire trilogy about a Mary Sue Jedi that nobody liked. Let me tab back over to the article. She continued, what I think is so interesting right now is that everybody thinks they're right. The Jedi really think they're right, and George Lucas tells us that they're wrong in Phantom. They missed a huge aspect of the dark side rising. That just felt like fertile ground to look into what's going on for all of us right now. Do you know what that is? That statement right there is? That is the statement of someone who doesn't understand anything. Because it's a statement that means nothing. You know what's so interesting? Everyone thinks they're right. Yeah, that's why you speak. Generally, that's why you have opinions. You think you know something. You think you're right. Just because the Jedi missed something. Oh god, this is melting my brain. It's melting my brain. I can't think. Ugh. It just felt like fertile ground to look into what's going on for all of us right now. I think the heel versus baby face rant applies right here, right now. Current fucking day. Nobody wants to watch Star Wars to get a dose of the politics we're all trying to use this to escape from. These people, they're so up in their own head. Like, they don't even realize the hypocrisy of what they're saying. They think they're right. And that's ultimately what this show is going to be about. It's basically just going to be like, oh, well, the people I don't like, they're evil. They're the dark side. And the people I like, well, they're all going to be the good guys. And they're going to get attacked by the bad guys. Look, Star Wars has been dead. It has been dead since Solo lost money. It has been a zombie walking around, shambling around as a rotting corpse up until now. When people, even the hardest of fans, have finally accepted that it's dead. And I'm dedicating so much of this Not so much like Cowboy Bebop all over again, but I get what you're saying. Yes, it's basically they're taking something and inserting a bunch of politics, but it's already been done. The politics and stuff has already been inserted into it. People people don't want to go into Star Wars because it reflects everything that's happening nowadays. That is not why we love Star Wars. We love Star Wars because lightsabers and pew pews and awesome intergalactic fights or interplanetary fights. Star Wars was a series with a lot of deep lore, a lot of good storytelling, and a lot of great characters. Stay hydrated, my friends. But ever since Disney took over, it has been more and more of just inserting people who want to put themselves front and center. That is what this is. This Leslie Headland person, they just want to be front and center and they just want to put their own politics out there because they think they have something deep and inspiring to say. But it's literally just going to end up like that Rose Tico line. We don't win a war by destroying what we hate. We win by saving what we love. Is there any more of this dumbassery in here? I mean, other than Man Bun Wookie here. Now, actually, what this looks like, it looks like someone hit this dude over the head with a bat, and now he just doesn't know what's good for him. Not only did Headland confirm the show will be a commentary on current American society, culture, and politics, but she seemed to imply the focus of the show being on female villains. Sorry, but she seemed to imply the focus of the show being on female villains are self inserts. When I was a young queer girl, I was just hanging out with Ursula, the sea witch from The Little Mermaid. She told the outlet. As a queer girl, hold up. You just said this part. As a queer girl growing up, if you don't identify with the heroes and the villains of the show, and the villains show up and they're all queer coded, you're like, yes, that's me. As a queer filmmaker, okay, you have now said you are queer 3 times in one statement. Like I said, this person just wants to make everything about themselves. She literally just wants to make everything about her and her identity. And look, I did a video a while back called "Why Modern Movies Suck" or something like that. Hold on, let me check. That was the wrong tab. Whoops. That's not it. The Breaking Point: Why Modern Entertainment Sucks. And it was a longer video, and I was pretty proud of that one. But in it, I kind of talked about this stuff and like how it absolutely ruins fiction when you start talking about when you start making yourself the center of the story you're writing. It ruins fiction, especially when you're a narcissistic, self-aggrandizing dumbass like this. So that's funny. Like this. This isn't how people talk. This isn't how a normal person talks. This is a person who wants to draw attention to the fact that they have a special checkbox they can make, that they can tick off. I'm a queer girl. A normal person would say, when I was growing up. If you identify with a villain, fine, sure, okay. I question you a little bit, but some villains are actually great characters. See Itachi Uchiha. Anyway, as a queer filmmaker, you're going to see some camp, inevitably, but I would say that tonally our references are darker. I doubt that because you're incapable of doing something that's actually dark. You cannot give me something like Oshinoko or Berserk. You cannot give me dark. You're incapable of it because dark would mean that you do some things that you're uncomfortable with. That you deal with subjects that you don't want to deal with, and that you think about them in ways you don't want to think about them because it would expose you for the narcissistic hack that you are. And of course, because Dave Filoni biffed so hard with Ahsoka, this is going to suffer. Just like Andor, actually, from everything I heard, Andor was actually a good series. People actually liked Andor, but nobody watched it. Why? Because everything that came out surrounding it sucked ass. Like I was just like talking about the way they were talking when I said they were like a narcissistic interested person, and somehow nailed it because all this language here. Back in June 2021, Hedlund confirmed that the series would be female centric during an interview with YouTuber Fantastic Frankie. Just because my show is technically, yes, female centric, meaning it centers around a female protagonist, I don't think that necessarily excludes men from that space. That's not female centric. ReZero is female centric. ReZero is a series. Yeah, actually. Kevin Conroy is like the kind of like person that everyone should aspire to be. He was someone who took his job seriously. He became iconic as Batman, and that's kind of why Batman is back here in my background that's also my thumbnails, because Batman's one of my favorite characters ever. Conroy was an incredible part of that, and it was never about him being gay or any of that. It was just that he was good as a voice actor, and he defined the voice of Batman. Straight up all it is. There's nothing queer coded. And that whole statement in and of itself is hilarious because it's basically just queer coded is just a term that refers to, oh, well, in my head canon here, they're gay because they were really good friends. Yeah, Star Wars was largely a male audience because guess what? Action films tend to appeal more to male audiences. Doesn't exclude women. Just because it's an action film doesn't mean women can't like it. But as a matter of just a matter of fact, action films tend to attract more men than women. Unless it's Aquaman, because then everyone just wants to go and gush over Jason Momoa's abs. I'm telling you, ladies, you're setting yourself up for failure if that's what you're thirsting for. Female centric does not mean it centers around a female protagonist. Female centric means that a large part of your story is driven by women and that it focuses on the feminine aspect. Not that you have a female protagonist. All right. Headland would go on to explain, listen, I relate to male characters all the time. Like I root for Mando. Like I root for Luke. I like deeply. Well, not sure how much I care about Han Solo anymore. When I was little, I really liked him. When I watch him now, I'm kind of like, gosh, a lot of my psyche makes sense now. Okay. I don't even know what that's supposed to mean. Like, what are you attacking Han Solo for? What? Being a player and a smuggler, a guy with some riz, if you will. I hate that word. Continuing on. All joking aside, I think that an inclusive space means an inclusive. Dear God. But at the same time, I think that just because something has a female protagonist doesn't mean it's only meant for women. Oh my God, she basically just defined the entire argument of the culture war. That you don't need to identify with someone based on your identity. You don't need a mirror to identify with a character. That's an interesting. That's an interesting. If you're just doing it to piss people off, it won't be worth it. Enjoy what you create. And if it's just to get at people, then you're really no different than the same people who are ruining Star Wars, ruining Marvel, ruining everything they touch. Sorry. Where was I? Right. The things we should be looking at when we're talking about characters we relate to should be things that are universal. Courage, generosity, kindness, those kinds of things, virtues, not skin deep qualities. Like, I don't just identify with a character because they're male, I identify with a character because of who they are. In fact, more often than not, I kind of feel like I have more of a feminine personality because I take, but doesn't mean I identify with. Yeah, whatever. Fuck off. There are just certain traits about me where I'm just like, okay, well, I'm not nearly as competitive, and I behave certain ways, and I'm more into certain things than other guys, and yeah, the kind of stuff the unstables would say, oh, well, then you have to be trans. The point is, I can identify with certain characters, even though they are nothing like me. Like, as controversial as he is, I love Subaru Natsuki from ReZero because he's a guy who basically, I somewhat identify with. Yeah. Not everything has to be about yourself, and that's what these people don't realize. They need to be the center of attention. And it's just kind of sad. Oh, so this must be Leslie Headland. Yeah, she really looks like someone like hit her in the face with a basketball as a child one too many times. She went on to describe the series as a tent revival. I kind of see like if Star Wars is a religion which I think we kind of agreed for the purpose of this interview it is, I like to think of my show as a tent revival. If you can come over if you want. We are going to be talking about some cool stuff. There's going to be some things we haven't discussed in canon yet. There are going to be some characters you don't know about. What? Again, I don't. It's like a tent revival? In what sense? That you're going to come in and you're going to be preached at? I guarantee you there's not going to be any cool stuff discussed. And I guarantee you there's not going to be anything that they haven't discussed already. It's going to be the same old schlop we get out of every Star Wars project now. Dear Lord, I traded Vegeta for this. I would love you to join us. I would love you to be interested in it. I'm losing interest in this whole article the more I read about this chick talking. And if it's not your thing, the cool thing about Star Wars right now is there's so much you can align yourself with and invest yourself in. And if you don't like it, that's fine. Okay. I don't like anything Disney Star Wars. So that's it. No more Disney Star Wars. It's not canon. I don't include it as canon. You know what I am going to include as canon? This, which I still have yet to get into. Because I have a stack of books a mile high over in the corner of my room, and an entire box set of Claymore manga that I haven't even touched yet. The official description of the series states The Acolyte is a mystery thriller, probably not going to be very mysterious or thrilling, that will take viewers into a galaxy of shadowy secrets and emerging dark side powers in the final days of the High Republic era. A former Padawan reunites with her Jedi Master to investigate a series of crimes, but the forces they confront are more sinister than they ever anticipated. No official release date. Oh boy. Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. Like I said, this chick just sounds like she's talking out her ass. She sounds like she's full of herself. She can't get out of her own head and just wants to be the center of attention. That whole I'm queer, I'm queer, I'm queer, and have nothing important to say bit really sealed the deal for me. But hey, who am I to judge? Because Star Wars isn't made for someone like you. I'm going to stick to real Star Wars. Episodes 1 through 6. Rogue One. I actually think Rogue One was a good movie. Fight me. And the EU. Star Wars EU. That's what I'm going to stick to. It's really sad because Star Wars was like one of the things that inspired me to really start writing. Star Wars was the big thing that got me into like writing to begin with. I started writing Star Wars fan fiction in my journal at like 13. Actually, I was younger than that. I was more like 8. And then from there, it developed into like the very first project I ever like took on. Clone Wars. Yeah, Clone Wars is another thing that I would include in there. I loved Clone Wars. Clone Wars was an essential part of my childhood, even though it started with a pretty bad movie. It's just sad to see how far it's fallen and how little I care about it now. Especially after they butchered my favorite character, Obi-Wan Kenobi. They crapped all over everything that was the original Star Wars and George Lucas Star Wars. They have continued to try and rewrite Star Wars, and that's what they did in Ahsoka, that just anyone can get the Force now if you just train hard enough. I need to move on. I need to move on to the next topic. And that one's going to be a little bit shorter and a little bit funnier. Because now we're getting back into some of the anime stuff. And that is going to be this right here. Netflix One Piece showrunner is down to tackle Spy Family. Steven Maeda, one of the showrunners behind Netflix One Piece, wants to take a crack at Spy Family. Now, let me explain something right off the bat. The only reason One Piece live action was good was because of the fact that Oda was so heavily involved in it. Do I see the same level of success happening with Spy Family? No. And that's why, for two reasons, I think they should do this. One, it'll kill off any potential disastrously bad live action remakes that are coming in the future. Two, it'll upset Spy Family simps. I'm kidding about that last one. I don't care much for Spy Family whatsoever. Anyway, there is no denying the success of Netflix's One Piece. While some fans were hesitant of the live-action project, the team behind One Piece spared no expense with the Straw Hats. Upon its release, Netflix's One Piece has topped the streaming service across the globe for weeks, and we have the show's top-notch team to thank. No, you have Oda to thank. And as for its showrunner, Steven Maeda, well, there is another anime he would like to tackle someday. Speaking with Comic Book, the showrunner behind Netflix's One Piece said he had been chasing after one anime for a bit. Spy Family has sunken its claws into the producer, and Maeda isn't ready to let it go. I love Spy Family so much. It's just wonderful, Maeda said when asked about the anime and its grip on the industry. It's funny you mentioned that one. I've been chasing Spy Family for a while. I don't think I need to get much into this whole thing. It will be hilarious to watch these bumblefucks biff this one. Spy Family is not a hard thing to adapt. You just do the whole cutesy family shtick they got going. You make Anya some adorable little kid. And poof, success. Because that's all people really care about. They want to talk about people want to talk about the story for Spy Family. I always thought the story was kind of dumb. It's supposed to be sort of childish and silly, but I think it's trying to mesh two things that just don't work together. In a way where, one, it wants to take itself seriously with a non-serious plot. Two, it wants to be really serious and childish at the same time. It wants to treat it like, oh, well, the story is actually like, we're going to save the world and do all this stuff and spy, assassin. It wants to tell a serious story while being an entire gag show. And I didn't like it. Objectively, it's got good music, it's got good animation. It's a good anime, I just don't think its story is for me. I don't think it was everything it was hyped up to be. And I think a lot of the hype will fade when people realize what Spy Family is when you put it in live action. The reason this one's doomed to fail, well, there's two reasons actually. One, because Spy Family only works because it's cute. Two, you're not going to have, I guarantee you're not going to have the creator as involved in this as Oda was with One Piece. Spy Family doesn't exude passion project like One Piece does. Just saying. Just saying. Well, we're approaching the 1 hour mark, and we're about halfway through, and I guess it's time to start getting to the drama, sort of infuriating section of this stream. So we have the anime manga apocalypse, some Rippaverse drama that came up with some people being weird. I have some commentary on that. And people not liking the intro to, or Yoasobi's intro to Frieren Beyond Journey's End. And I think those people are stupid. Yeah. I would always rather things be good. Spy Family is just something I just don't care about personally. Like, I'll be watching season 2 because my whole channel is anime reviews and stuff. So I'm going to cover it. I'm going to talk about it. And I admitted in my review of the first season that it is an objectively good anime and it was better than what I expected. My contrarian ass wanted to hate it, but couldn't. Story wasn't for me. Animation and music, fantastic. I did not think the humor was all that appealing. Just kind of felt meh. It's like Anya steps in poop. Okay. You have devolved into the stupid toilet humor that my dad laughs at. Congratulations. But it is what it is. If you enjoy Spy Family, go ahead, enjoy it. I'm not going to stop you. You're welcome to enjoy the Spy Family. But I think it is time to start talking about this. This is something that was interesting, and I've seen a lot of people cover it already and talk about it, but this is an actual thing that's happening. I'm not going to read the article. I'm not going to get too into it. I'll just give you the cliff notes. Basically, what's happening here is that Japan has implemented a new invoice system for their tax deductions. And what that means is, one, mangaka who are already breaking their back for like minimal or for low wages are going to have to do a bunch of paperwork that they're not trained to do. And they're going to have to publicize their private information. And if you don't know what the Japanese otaku community is like, well, let me just say there is a reason that some of these mangaka hide their identity. People can be toxic, and that's not just for Japan. That's not just for Japan. That goes for America too. People can be really, really toxic. And I'll get into some of that in a bit with this Rippaverse stuff. But the fact of the matter is that this is one thing that is like definitely concerning because it could threaten to put a lot of good mangaka out of business or just out of the industry for fear of their own, safety, for not being worth what it pays. This could be really bad. Which is sad because I really like manga. I really, really like manga. I have tons of it. And there are some series like that are still running that I'm worried might end up like going away. And I don't want to. Yuck. The point is, this could cause problems in the near future. Will it? Look, I'm not one to get into all the doom and gloom BS that everyone wants to spew. Everything is always the worst possible scenario. It is always like everyone always spins things in a more negative light. What's likely going to happen? Not much. Is it possible that this does actually upend the entire manga industry and the entire anime industry? Potentially. I see the potential. I see what these people are talking about. But there's no way to tell if it's going to be as doom and gloom as there's no way to tell it's going to be as doom as gloom as what me and my inability to speak. There's no way to tell if it's going to be as doom and gloom as what everyone wants to think it's going to be. In all likelihood, I shouldn't say in all likelihood. Right now, odds are it's a 50-50 split between whether this actually does something to the industry or if all this speculation leads to being a load of bunk and Japanese people just end up working harder for the same amount of money, which is kind of sad, kind of disappointing. Kind of unfortunate. I guess we'll move on to subject number 2 as far as anime goes. So recently, one of my most anticipated series of the year dropped. And it came with an intro that I actually thought was pretty good. Now, Yoasobi, I actually like them when they do their intros. They did really good with Idol, the intro for Oshinoko. And I thought they did a really good intro for Frieren. Apparently, though, people thought that this song sucked or that it didn't fit the tone of the series. And they wanted to talk shit about it. I have my suspicion, though, that it is almost entirely the Western audience because you start reading the lyrics and it really matches the sort of nostalgic, regretful, somber tone that the series actually has. The whole story basically talks about like looking back on life. The whole song is talking about like looking back on all the things that I missed out with the people I traveled with previously. Like I'm seeing all the things that they were telling me about back then now that it's too late to, actually experience it with them. I've passed these people by in life and now they're gone. And now that I'm taking this journey again, I'm starting to see all of this. It's stupid to see people complain about that song because one, it's a good anime intro. It is a good anime intro. Two, lyrics are good. The lyrics match the series. Now you might think it seems too happy and upbeat, but that's because you're stupid. I guess it's time to move into the final act of this stream. Because again, we have been going for an hour now. And this is going to be a multi-parter. Actually, it's going to be. I have one more thing to cover first. That I don't think I really want to. But I will. I will. Because I have it slated up here, I might as well. I'm not doing anything else. I have a tweet here from Nerdrotic. in this video is something else. Oh, this isn't the actual video. Shit. Oh, here we go. Hold on a second. Man, I'm just not on top of it today. So here we go.
So my show Robin Hood is getting rating bombed, 1.6 out of 10. Now you probably, why would someone do that? It's just some TV show. Well, being that Robin is actually a black woman this time, the angry nerd community is very upset. In fact, from the moment it was announced, these guys lost their minds. The moment. So this is a month ago. So this is just when we said we're releasing it.
He's pointing at Ryan Kittle. Oh boy. Yes, the Robin Hood Director X. So basically, this guy's going off about complaining like why he is so confident that his show is good.
What the fuck is this? Race and gender swap. Woke disaster. Robin Hood remake looks different. Haha. Guess what? He doesn't like that as a black woman either. This will fail. Robin Hood gets blacked. Look at him laughing. It's so funny. All right. Just when we started production, they were talking about it. 1 year ago, they were at us, right? Pop culture crisis. It's a crisis that we're doing Robin Hood. What the, right? When this person put this up a month ago. So this is just when we said it's coming out. These videos are coming from either from the
reason this stuff gets blasted is because it's done all the time. Yes. This stuff gets done all the time. We know how it goes. And honestly, the biggest problem with this isn't that the show features a black woman. It is that the show has objectively shit writing and very, very on the nose, blatant, preachy politics. I've seen it. It's bad. It's real bad.
Announcement or when it says come out, right? Like other languages. Look, another guy. Like they're worldwide. These guys are going in. A black woman's going to be Robin Hood. It's going to be horrible. How could black kids do Robin Hood?
Yes, how dare people be upset that you took a traditionally like an English folklore story, if I'm not mistaken, and completely changed the meaning of it. Not just change the meaning of it, change the characters. A lot of people misunderstand this, like the whole Robin Hood thing. And there's a lot of eat the rich sort of mentality in this show. A lot of people misunderstood what Robin Hood was actually doing. Robin Hood wasn't stealing from the rich to give to the poor. He was stealing from the government and giving to the taxpayer. Because you see, the rich weren't just some big corporations back then. They were people in political power. People who taxed and controlled everything and lived lavish lives at the expense of others. This wasn't a matter of just taking from rich people. It was Robin Hood rose up in protest to a king who ruled unjustly. That was the story of Robin Hood. How do you miss that? Let's continue on with this goofy ass dude and his obsession with jewelry.
Right? And these people tell you they're not racist. I've watched a lot of these guys. I subscribe to a few of these guys. They're adamant they're not racist. Yeah, swear up and down, not racist. They say we're the ones that making everything about race. This guy's fucking French.
Because you are. Because you are the people who are making everything about race. See, people wouldn't care about these characters, or people wouldn't care about black characters if they were just black characters. The issue is the I need to see myself crowd, and again, I'm going to plug my video, The Breaking Point. Go find it on my channel. They talk about how they need to see themselves on a physical level. You literally need if you need a mirror to see yourself in a character, you're shallow, you're narcissistic, and you're not a good person. You are not the hero of the story if you need a mirror to see yourself in someone else. Continuing on.
This dude here put a black wizard with fried chicken and a gold necklace. But they're not racist.
What are the odds you want to bet that this person is actually like this is their like channel avatar? And like they're actually a black content creator. I don't know. Who knows? I actually kind of want to go check out that video.
They're not racist. Watch this.
Oh, it's
Everybody must eat.
That was a cute one, right? And then
it's actually kind of a funny ass video.
on the posts, yeah, Robin in the Hood is not exactly a new idea. So when you go to IMDb and you look at user ratings, I have almost 158 people have given it a 1 star, 68%. 22 people up here, 10 stars. Look, when I go by country, Canada, 1 star. Look at this. It's still 15 for the 10s. There's a real gap in between. United States. Remember, the show's not released in the States.
Keep in mind, you can still get a hold of it. Camera's over here. Whoops. Yeah, it kind of is, actually.
United Kingdom. Show's not released in the United Kingdom. Australia.
How do you not understand what pirating is? How do you not understand that people can use VPNs to get the show? How are you this dense? How are you so confident in your shit writing that you think it has to be review bombs because nobody likes it? The fact of the matter is, I've seen the show, and it's shit. It is awful. Horrible. It is one of the dumbest pieces of writing I have ever experienced. And that is saying something because I have watched some objectively bad anime. I have read some objectively bad manga too. Pro tip, don't read Tokyo Revengers. Don't watch Tokyo Revengers. Don't bother with Tokyo Revengers or Robin Hood.
Oh yeah, I think they might. Look at this. This is what these guys do. Sweden. Look at this. And remember, these guys will tell you the type of men they are. Real men, eh? Yeah, so this is what these guys are doing with themselves. This is the time they have in their life. This is the manosphere. This is the manosphere. This is what a man does.
I don't think you have ever had to accept responsibility for failures in your life, sir. Just saying. Look, I've made some bad videos. They're still up. People can go laugh at them. But that's on me. I have written some bad things. That's on me. I have failed. So has this guy. He tried to take something that's like an English folk story, England, England is a historically white place. So when you take like a long-standing story in Robin Hood based in England and you try to translate it into the modern day and inject modern politics, of course you fail. Of course you fail. Because nobody wants your bullshit modern politics. Nobody wants your racial identity politics. Nobody wants your crap. And because you can't accept it, that's your fault. I have seen the charts for review bombing and stuff go positive. I've seen positive review bombing. It happened with the Ruby Justice League stuff. I think you just made something that's so objectively shit, nobody likes it. Just saying.
If you ever had the guts to talk to a girl, to walk up to a girl and start a conversation, if you ever had that ability. I'm so
questioning the manhood. Yeah, okay. This is a dude who's salty as fuck. So there are two things in an argument you can tell when someone is salty as fuck. One, when they start bringing up your sex life. When they start talking about how you get no bitches, how you don't talk to women, yada, yada, yada. Two, when they say your dick is small. Now you can tell they're just using insults to try to bully you into doing whatever they want you to do. They're dismissing you as an incel or someone incapable of satisfying a woman. And more often than not, those people are kind of in the exact same position they're insulting you for being in. This guy gives me tiny dick energy. Maybe I should rephrase that.
What you do? Would you tell her that you made a user account on IMDb so you could review? Would that be the thing you would do that you think would get you ahead in the conversation? Would you tell her?
No, because nobody cares about reviews. Well, people do care about reviews. Are you going to go and like tell some chick that you get bent out of shape when people don't like your bullshit show? The fact is, everyone who's seen it thinks it's garbage. Because you thought you were so special that you had something great to say, some big nugget of wisdom to offer the world. And you didn't. You basically just said the same thing we've been hearing out of every big mainstream entertainment project for the past, I don't know how many fucking years. And guess what? People are sick of it. They don't want to hear you talk. You're done. You fucked up. Accept it. Move on. Okay?
Look at that. You're a man, right? You do man thing.
What is this music, by the way? It's fucking annoying.
So that's what these men are dealing with. That's what's going on. I smile at my haters. Robin Hood Wednesdays on Global, 10 p.m. Eastern after Survivor and Ghost. Tune in this Wednesday. Episode 2's up. Go back, watch episode 1 if you ain't seen it, because you need to know episode 1 to see episode 2. And we just can't mind these youth, bro. What are you going to do?
Spare me. Spare me. Look, this guy basically exemplifies the entire argument I make in that video, Breaking Point. Talking about how these people literally cannot accept their own failures, and it has to be the fault of someone else. The fact is, there are shows that are just so objectively shit that they get panned. Do we need to talk about Dragon Ball Evolution? Do we need to talk about Cowboy Bebop? Do we need to talk about Death Note? Do we need to talk about Velma? Blood Origin? I can go on. I can go on about things that people don't like. Rings of Power. Yeah. The fact of the matter is, in all likelihood, this show was just something that people didn't like. Now, if you were to tell me you had a show, let's just exclude the Robin Hood thing. If you're going to tell me that you had a show about a black girl, gay of power. Alone we are but a single stick, but together we form a mighty word I'm not allowed to say because I'm a straight white male and I'll get demonetized. I'm not demonetized. It wasn't even monetized to begin with. I'll get kicked off of YouTube. What was I even saying before that? Damn it. You've derailed me. Anyway. Again, it's these writers who cannot accept the fact that maybe they just suck. You know, they just got off of striking, and I covered this last week, and they kind of like screwed themselves. But it's I'm gonna have to ask you to, because I don't know what YouTube's gonna do to me if you know what, never mind, screw it. If I get in trouble for it and whatever. I have completely lost my train of thought. Basically, this guy exemplifies the I can't have failed. It has to be everyone else's fault. So now he wants to make it about how everyone hates the show because his character is a black girl, and not because the show sucks. Well, that's where I was going with this. If you had told me that there was a show about some black girl robbing people to or if you had told me about that there was some like a show about a black girl being a vigilante, okay, sure, maybe I'll check it out. I don't particularly care that I don't like really want to get into like all the like live action stuff right now. It just doesn't interest me much at this current time. But the fact of the matter is that it's your politics that is the problem. It is the way you've written this shit that is the problem. You wrote insufferable characters who are just cruel and mean. And you wrote a bullshit political commentary I got 2 more things to cover, and I got about 40 minutes to do it. So let's go. All right, next. Little interesting stuff about comic books, since I haven't really touched all the comic stuff.
You harvest so
This little video. So if you're not aware of, indie comic stuff, Rippaverse was a company that was basically started by a guy who wanted to do his own comics because he was sick and tired of what DC and Marvel were doing. He's like, all right, well, I'm going to go do it. Eric July. Whether you like him or not, I don't care. Whether you like his comics or not, still don't care. It doesn't really matter to me what your opinion on this is, whether you think Eric July is a scammer or not, or whatever. The point is, I paid for a comic. I got a comic. I like the comic. I paid again for a comic. I got the comic. I like the comic. So there is a faction on the internet that just absolutely can't stand that fact for some reason. For whatever reason, they absolutely cannot accept the fact that maybe some people just like this. And that's how you get shit like this.
what's good, people? So a lot of y'all ask me, Derek, how do you harvest so much money from kids when you can't write? Well, I mean, I don't have a single skill or talent at all. I just shout at kids and pretend that I do. Here's how you do it.
Derek, where's my damn wings and beans?
I'm coming. So in this big, wide old world we live in, there are hundreds of thousands of amazing comics.
So, yeah, I mean, at least I got to give it to the guy for his editing quality. But I'm going to watch the rest of this through, and then I'll talk about it. Play the rest of this.
Old and new. So many, in fact, we ain't never going to run out. But then, of course, people like me exist. And what I attempt to do is try to convince as many kids as I can that just a small handful of really bad comics by Marvel and DC are actually the entire comic industry.
No. See, what happened is July started commenting on all the writing and how all these side stories, and that there were other problems with the DC and Marvel universes and the comic book industry at large. And he's not wrong in saying that these sorts of comics are becoming more and more common. These sorts of things are leaking into other series. It all has to do with the writing. I know I said I was going to watch this through, but yeah.
Then, just like every TV evangelist before me, hungry for money, and I bark and I shout and I make the worst kind of noise daily on YouTube in an attempt to create a completely false reality that the entire comics industry is bad and that I'm the way forward.
We're going to get to some of this with the next part of this that I have to talk about. But that's just an objective lie. And this bit right here.
Comics industry is bad and that I'm the way forward. Then, once the gaslighting of my subscribers is complete daily on YouTube in an attempt to create a completely false reality that the entire comics industry is bad and that I'm the way forward. Then, once the gaslighting of my subscribers is complete, and with the financial backing and donation from Glenn Beck.
There it is, the Glenn Beck shit. All right. You know what? I'll save the commentary for later. But the Glenn Beck thing, I don't get where all that comes from. People want to act like this guy's funded by Glenn Beck. Y'all whack, y'all crazy.
And Blazy Media. I announced that I'm going to make a comic that is going to replace Marvel, replace DC, be anti-woke, blah, 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 and be all the buzzwords I used in my campaign to get as many $30 pre-orders that I can.
That's another point that people will make. Talking about how the book was $30. But if you go on any sort of indie campaign, you're not going to see any of these comic books being cheap. And the whole reason that mainstream comics are so cheap is, one, their quality is shit. The paper sucks. Two, they're only 30 pages as compared to 90 to 120 for the first 2 volumes of ISOM. Three, they have deals with actual printers that lower the price. None of that is the case with ISOM. ISOM actually had like good quality stuff, good quality material. ISOM was a long book. It's more akin to the kind of stuff I like to read, like manga. It's more like 180 to 212 pages. It's not like July has some like big deal with a printer he can use to lower the prices.
How the hell can I keep this scam going? Wait a minute. I got an idea. Come on, pick up.
Hello?
Hey, is that Chuck? Chuck Dickman?
Yes, this is Chuck.
Hey, my name is Derek July. Listen, I need to buy your name so I can use it to sell my really crappy comics.
Right. Okay. Well, I guess I haven't done anything significant in over 10 years, and I suppose I could really do with the money right now.
Don't you worry about the money. I harvested a lot from kids on YouTube. You just let me use your name so it makes my goofy shit sound credible.
Sure. What the hell? Okay. What do you...
I just emailed my
2 millionth time. Want to watch me post the exact same video of pure repetitive brain rot over and over again? Then just repeat the buzzwords, give me your money, and I'll see you in the next video.
That's pretty much it. That whole video is a straw man argument, first of all. Because look, if you think Eric July is a scammer, well, then one, you have to prove that he actually scammed people. Because what he said was, I'm sick and tired of the comic book industry. I don't like what they're doing. So I'm going to go make my own. And he did. And when people paid for it, he delivered the comics. So he did it again, and he delivered the comics when people paid for them. That's not a scam. In fact, honestly, what it felt like was I was given some half-decent fiction. I don't think ISOM is something like super incredibly amazing. Now, I have the hat. But I do not think these first 2 books have been something that have been incredibly awesome. The fact of the matter is, I got what I wanted out of it. So, yeah. I have seen the things that go on in the comic book industry, and we're going to get into some of that because if you don't know who Thor Odinson is, well, he had some words to say on some of this, and he kind of sums up a lot of what I'm going to say here, so I'm just going to go into it. Your entire lives revolve around trying to destroy woke companies, which is effectively something that Dick Masterson was trying to say. But here's what we have to go into. As opposed to you white knighting for companies that ruin the lives of good people while dedicating your life to destroying an indie comic publisher. If people are dumb as shit for wanting to see companies like Disney pay a price for canceling people like Gina Carano and using their money and influence to try and make it easier to sterilize and mutilate children before they're even capable of making an informed decision, then what does that make you? Was ISOM created by Kirby, Ditko, or some other beloved creator? Are you pissed that some hack who wasn't even born when the character was created is now ruining them because they wanted to become a Hollywood writer? Again, part of why people don't like the mainstream comic book industry. They butcher characters just to further their career, just so they can get in with Hollywood. Have you a longtime fan of a character been told by those creators that you're a bad guy for not liking the new direction? Have you had those creators actively screw with your business and try to prevent you from publishing your own comics? Did Eric dox you or try to get you fired from your job, as industry pros did to your boy Zach? Did the Rippaverse cancel anyone and destroy their career in the comic industry like they did with EDS, John Malin, Gina Carano, and others? Did Eric July try to starve your kids like the pros in the comic industry tried to starve EDS's kids by, making sure he couldn't do any business and trying to ruin his life? Did you get into an online game with your kid to pump him for information about your family, the way the comic book industry did to Zach and his underage kid? Did Eric July steal a business from you, the way Mark Waid did to a couple who didn't have the money to fight him in court? Is the Rippaverse destroying the direct comic market with comics nobody wants to buy? Keep that one in mind. Is Eric funneling millions of dollars into state-supported child mutilation and sterilization? Are ISOM comics being printed a couple miles from a Chinese concentration camp? Did Eric July personally thank the province with the concentration camp for letting him print his comics there? If not any of that, then why do you even care? Because if it's not a company if it's not a company you care about, if it's not a title you care about, if it's not a character you care about, if the Rippaverse as a company isn't engaged in heinous activity, then why expend so much energy? That'd be like me going over to Amelia Clark's stupid Mother of Madness comic. I heard about it, I laughed at how stupid it was, and moved on with my life because ultimately I didn't give a damn about that comic and didn't affect me in any way. And yet here you are going nuts daily over an indie comic, which in no way, shape, or form ever or will ever have any effect on your life one way or the other. Your vendetta is pathetic and embarrassing. By the way, if you're going to white knight for billion-dollar corporations and go after the indie competition, at least have the sense to get them to pay you for the job. I bring all this up for one reason. This stuff gets treated like you have people treating it like it's a scam. But the fact of the matter is, there are just people who like it. They're unwilling to accept the fact that perhaps there are a large portion of us, and this is proven by numbers, who don't like these stories anymore. Who don't like the mainstream, who don't like the status quo, who don't like watching Batman be turned into the bad guy because he punishes thieves for stealing. The fact of the matter is, this stuff has died and lost its share in the market to manga because unlike manga, this stuff doesn't deliver what people want. You have a bunch of people who go into these comic industries because they want to make it a mirror. They want it to reflect them. They want to see themselves. And they ruin these characters you love. And you're not allowed to be upset by it just because. You're not allowed to be upset that your favorite characters in the world are being destroyed. You're not allowed to be upset that the things you love are being crapped on all the time. Because when you do, well, you're just blowing it out of proportion. You want to pretend like the vast majority of the comic book industry is bad. Well, if the vast majority of the comic book industry isn't bad, why is it getting its ass kicked by manga? Why did the big two lose so much of their market share that they can't survive without being attached to some stupid fucking megacorp? Why are some of the most popular characters in comic book history, like Spider-Man and Batman, suffering in sales? One Piece outsells all of Batman ever. The truth of the matter is that, yes, something changed in the comic book industry. And now you have these crazies who gatekeep the industry, who want to make sure that people don't get in, that they don't like, who will go out of their way to try and ruin you because they don't like you. I call that an industry that sucks. And what Thor Odinson had to say, at large, is pretty much how it is. The fact of the matter is that these people can't stand the idea of someone not going through them, not being a part of the mainstream, and succeeding because they deliver what the fans want. Because they view the fans as reprehensible people who need to be educated. And when someone goes and gives these fans an alternative for their craving for entertainment, they lose their ever-loving minds. Because that can't exist. There can't be competition. There can't be someone who's actually better than me and offers people what they want. So I'm going to go out of my way and try to destroy that person because I can't stand the fact that they make me look like the scrub that I actually am. And you see this, like, you can see this attitude reflected in the way they treat things when they fail. They blame everyone but themselves. They blame the fans. They talk about how racist and evil you are because you wouldn't accept them. Because they wanted to turn your favorite characters into a mirror so that they could look into it and see themselves. They're narcissistic people. This whole stream has been about narcissistic people. They're people who don't give a rap about your character or about how you feel about your character. They just want to see themselves glorified. That is pretty much the biggest part of what's killing the comic book industry. That is why these indie creators are doing so well. It's because they're going out of their way to create good art, to create good stories with quality that people actually respect. Doesn't matter the price point. Doesn't matter that ISOM or Ghost of the Badlands or whatever you want to point out for the indie community. Doesn't matter that those things are $30. I'm willing to pay $30 for a good book. In fact, while I was on vacation earlier last month, I paid $150 for a stack of good books. The point is, you can get away with high price points if what you offer is worth it. Fact of the matter is, people aren't just deluding themselves into liking ISOM. People actually do like it. Now, is it the most amazing thing in the world? No, I did my review on ISOM 1 and 2, and I talked about all that, and you can check it out on my channel here. And you can see that I gave it a 7 out of 10. There's lots of room for improvement, but it's not bad. It's good. But everything now has to be about, like we saw with Director X and all that, everything has to be about like more racism, a current day, all this, all that. So everyone wants to make it about. And you can sit here and you can blast people talking about how like, oh, well, it's just a scam. And my question is, why do you dedicate so much to hating something you were never a part of to begin with? Why do you dedicate so much to something you never cared one way or the other about? Because you just hate the person? Or because you hate the fact that there's now an alternative to the mainstream? These are probably also the same people who would go on and complain about like how unfair the comic book industry is and how evil it is that like these corporations are making all like how evil corporations are. But the moment someone does something out of line with their personal views, they go and like rip them to shreds. They're hypocrites and they don't care. All they want is themselves. So fuck them. Ignore them. They're not worth your time. They can't be reasoned with. They can't be talked to. They're just... Their minds are literally driven insane. They've been driven insane by their own hatred for something. Is what it is. Well, I still got a little bit of time here, so I am going to get into talking a bit about Ahsoka, which I tried to watch. I genuinely did. Just for a friend. And I couldn't. I ended up skipping a lot of it. To sum up the series Ahsoka, as short as I can, pointless. Ahsoka is pointless. Because if you remove Ahsoka and you remove Sabine and you remove Hera from the entire story, everything ends up the same. How dare you say that? Well, let me put it this way. Without those three, Morgan Elspeth would have found her way over to where Thrawn is, and Thrawn would have made his return. Regardless, their actions did nothing to help or impede Thrawn. They were so uninvolved in their own story. This show was pointless. Not to mention the fact that Sabine is straight up evil. She straight up betrays an entire galaxy. Like, sells her soul to the bad guys because she misses Ezra and she wants to go find him. So she literally stops, or she literally does not destroy the one thing that would, stop anyone from finding Thrawn. She doesn't take her chance to destroy, and she hands it over to the bad guys who then go and find Thrawn and bring him back. Yeah. Oh, but it gets worse. Thrawn is supposed to be this big mastermind strategist character, someone who's like really smart and intelligent and really good at like outthinking people. And none of his plans made any freaking sense in this series. They lobotomized Thrawn. Like, the moment he sent Sabine away, he could have just been like, all right, well, we're going to space now and we're returning to the galaxy. And we're going to leave them all stranded here. Sabine, Ezra, Ahsoka, all of them. Stranded. But no. No, he decides he's going to, do a bunch of bullshit. Kind of like throw some stones at him. He sends out some TIE fighters. This dude is literally like the dumbest version of Thrawn you could have possibly made. Again, people who don't know how to write. They can't actually make their characters smart. So what they have to do instead is they have to go out of their way to make every other character dumb. So they made Thrawn stupid and entirely ruined his character. Hayden Christensen is wasted on this show. And the fact of the matter is he proved just how bad Rosario Dawson is when it comes to choreography. because everything she does is so freaking slow. And you have Hayden Christensen come in and absolutely dominate the screen with his saber fighting skills. And it was all just done, member berries. But Hayden Christensen's presence with a lightsaber actually was satisfying to some extent, if he had been given a proper opponent. But the fact is that scene failed so hard in my eyes, because regardless of how you want to view it, it just looks like Hayden Christensen's skill is wasted, and Ahsoka only won because of plot reasons. Not to mention that the whole situation is framed improperly. You have Hayden Christensen like live or die. Seriously? It's a dumb way of phrasing it. It's a really dumb way of phrasing it. Do you want to live or do you want to die? Well, obviously I want to live. No one's going to choose they want to die. How it should have been phrased: are you going to choose to fight, or are you going to choose to give up? But the writers thought they were going to be deep with it. The writers thought they were going to pull something slick on people, and they thought they were going to be all like artsy and creative, and it just came off as incredibly freaking dumb. Oh well. Oh well. And then, of course, there's like that final episode. Sabine does all of this to be reunited with the love of her life. And you know what the first thing she does is? Well, not the first thing. You know what she ends up doing? Abandoning the guy. Giving up on him. What? Also, Sabine getting force powers, the most retarded shit in the world. She didn't need force powers. She didn't need to be a Jedi. You know what she needed to do? Be good with a blaster. Her character would have been better. Sure, she can have the lightsaber, but it's more of just like a thing where it's like you can have her like, I'm going to hang on to this until I meet up with Ezra again so I can give it back to him. But then, of course, Ezra refuses the lightsaber. They do nothing with his character. And there's so much wrong with this series. There's so much wrong that I'm struggling to like find any direction in how to attack it. Because there's just so much. Oh, there's also all the Marok or whatever his name is, the fart ghost. You couldn't have done anything cool with that. Like he gets slashed and just leaks out his suit. Screw you. Ahsoka was dog water garbage from start to finish. It just was. It was garbage. It didn't entertain. It wasn't even all that... Well, actually, there were some redeeming qualities to it. Baylan was the only compelling character, and they did nothing with him. They wasted his potential. You could have done something with Sabine, with Ezra, with Thrawn, too. Wasted potential. That's another way to sum this whole thing up. A pointless waste of potential. That is Ahsoka. A series that spent so much time doing nothing but crapping all over characters who could have been good. I never touched Rebels. But even I could tell that these characters that we saw were not what they should have been. Fact of the matter is, Dave Filoni proves that he just sucks. He just sucks. Then, of course, he couldn't help but copy Lord of the Rings multiple times. Ahsoka the White, the giant statues in the valley, all that stuff. Nothing about this series makes sense. Make it make sense, man. I would have more to say if I had other people to talk with, but going on along this far on my own, I ain't got nothing, boss. I ain't got nothing. Ahsoka was brain-meltingly bad. I don't care what anyone says. I thought it was just straight up garbage. That's why I wasn't going to watch it. But then I saw that it actually broke some die-hard Star Wars fans. And I was like, well, I got to see how bad this is. And I couldn't stand it. There's a reason I stopped watching Star Wars. But I think that's about enough. I think I've run my mouth for long enough about Star Wars. About everything on this stream. I've gone for 2 hours now. So I guess it is time for me to call it a wrap. This is the end. Hope you enjoyed. I'll be back again next week. That's it. That's all I got to say. Later. And yes, see ya. That is it. Thanks for your time. Thanks for watching. Hope you have a great week. Peace.